Hi all, welcome back to Make More Bonsai, John here. Today we're going to revisit this Japanese black pine, Pinus thunbergii, that we worked on earlier this year. But first, I'm excited to announce the winner of this Chinese Elm. In a previous video, I announced a push to 5,000 subscribers and offered this Chinese Elm bonsai stock tree to one lucky commenter. I'm humbled by how quickly you viewers responded to this call to action. Make More Bonsai hit that 5,000 sub target before I could finish the next video to post here. I'm excited to see this little family grow, and I really look forward to making more bonsai goodness for you. Thank you for all your participation, and please keep adding to the conversation while making more bonsai. Any winner on this channel will be announced in a video and only be contacted via this channel's email, makemorebonsai@gmail.com, to confirm the delivery address. No other information will be asked or retained. Please be aware of anyone reaching out via any other means. Thank you again for all of your support. Now back to the fun. This Japanese black pine has been under development for a really long time, but this past year we've begun to accelerate its training to move to a refinement stage. In spring, that push began with its first initial training session that included removing the new candles and removing needles to start to encourage dense branching to improve overall ramification on the tree. We spent the summer allowing those new branches to grow out and expand, and also restarted fertilization in late summer so strength can be built up for the following spring. It's now late autumn here in Austin, Texas. This tree is winding down for winter, storing energy for its next candle push in spring. I wait until the latest possible time to safely perform the tasks like today's session so the roots can gather as much energy as possible before dormancy. We can see we have a ton of new growth and new branches to choose from. This pine has responded really well to the work that was done in the spring. In this session, it's time to start making some hard choices to set the tree on a path of a refined bonsai. I want to firmly establish a main branch for this tree, as well as secondary and back branches, and also solidify an actual apex on this tree. For that, I will need to decide what branches this tree will focus its energy on, and which branches are no longer needed. If we take a closer look, there are a lot of branches happening on the back of the tree. These have been left on all of this time to maintain the overall health of the tree and accelerate growth. And what better place is there to keep the sacrifice branches than the back of the tree? So, there's one place we can start to remove excess foliage and expose the remaining branches that will be in the final design to more light. I really want to close up that overall silhouette and encourage more proportional branching on the rest of the tree. Removing a lot of that branch that's extending far to the back will open up that area to spread out the remaining branches to allow light in for back budding that will contribute to a more proportional branching in that area. I may want to keep the structure of the branch that was defoliated to use as gin and add some character to the tree. I'm going to seal off the ends of the branches with some cut paste to prevent sap from pouring out of the wounds and let these branches die back slowly. Maybe next summer they can be stripped of bark and made into proper gin. For now, I want to limit the stress on the tree. Once the tree has rerouted the vascular support to the other branches, making the gin will barely have an effect on the pine. Let's keep in mind, we want to create the best conditions possible for this tree and it's designed to be successful. I've been personally growing this pine for over 20 years from a seedling. This tiny bit of caution will go a long way to making that time purposefully spent. What's another few months, right? Moving up through the trunk, there is another problem area that will now need to be addressed before moving forward. Midway up through the tree, there's a branch on the left that is directly opposite a branch that is located more toward the front. This is called a bar branch. Over the time this tree has been under development, I've kind of been undecided on which of these branches will remain on the final design. This bar branch situation is problematic. I really like them both and have been steadily working on them for years. They each carry with them some character as well, but when branches are in this configuration, both even with each other departing from the trunk at the same level, it kind of creates a traffic jam within the vascular system of the tree that will eventually make the junction between them spread wider and wider. This will result in a reversal of taper in the trunk, making that area thicker than the area below it. If we follow the bonsai-related logic of communicating the passage of time in a natural manner, which is wider equals older, any inconsistency within that will disrupt the design and become a distraction, which is bad times. It's a problem all creators and artists and writers have to face. Sometimes you have to kill your darlings to make the story better. In this case, one of these branches has to go, but I still think we can use that branch, even if it's dead, to make the story better. That left-facing branch is well placed and has an attractive shape to it. That front-facing branch is also well placed and fills the space that is generally devoid of foliage. If that left branch is converted to gin, it will still contribute to the story of the tree meaningfully, and it will also open up that area to help feed the branch below it with more light. So creating that gin will also help enhance the main defining branch and give it space it needs to fully become that defining branch. This is a bold solution. This pine, however, has many opportunities to make that solution worthwhile. Over the next few growing seasons, a branch from that front-facing branch will be extended to fill the space behind it by training a branch section from it to move behind the trunk to create more depth and frame the gin. I'll be sealing this branch just like the one that was done earlier to allow the tree to reroute and the branch to dry out through next year. This is maybe one of the more exciting aspects of bonsai, encountering a problem, then formulating a solution that combines your skills and understanding of how the tree functions into a unique enterprise that you both enjoy the success it yields, which is good times. I'm sure there are other choices that could have been made, and this tree still has a few surprises left in case something fails, but for now, at this moment, this is the direction I'm taking this tree in. Please share your thoughts in the comments below if you would consider a different tactic. With that area now opened up with plenty of light to reach it, it's time to wire out that main or defining branch, and with it the branches in that area that reside more toward the back. I'm organizing the structure of the tree from the bottom up. When those branches are arranged and organized, it gets easier to see what needs to be addressed next, or at least for me, setting up that defining branch works best to help see where any support branches should be in the design. What I'm looking to do is begin to work toward fine branching, returning us to the wider equals older concept of communicating the passage of time in a natural manner. Working these branches will include deciding where that branch will begin to narrow toward the ends of the branches for a natural and more proportional look and feel. If you create a thick log with tiny twigs popping out, the branch communicates a more mechanical vibe, which is not what I'm hoping to accomplish with this bonsai. To encourage that natural feel to a branch, it would be widest as a primary branch departing from the trunk, then dividing into shorter and more narrow sections the further from the trunk it gets. Doing this consistently throughout the tree fortifies the design with a natural look and feel. In order to achieve this on a Japanese black pine branch, look for the opportunities on each branch in the form of actual branch divisions in attractive locations. Look for buds or starts of new branches and prune back to them. And finally, wiring the branches to spread them out to receive enough light to best develop them and encourage new buds to form. The end result of each of these actions leads to the creation of foliage groupings or pads that contribute to the broader silhouette of the tree. Over the next few growing seasons, more and more secondary and tertiary branches with foliage will emerge, each needing to share the same amount of limited resources as this tree is providing today in its current state to support the needles from the limited amount of roots in the pot. Those resources the roots are providing will need to be spread out over an expanded overall leaf surface than what's on the tree now. This will help produce smaller, more in proportion needles once the branches reach that third tier of finer branching. In short, more leaves, same resources, equals smaller leaves. That also produces shorter spaces between the branches and new buds. All of this combines in what is kind of a bonsai formula of sorts that gets more and more evident as the practice and training matures into the multi-tier branch design, primary, secondary, tertiary, and beyond. We're setting that up now this autumn. Let's also keep in mind, not everything that is being wired today will even be on the tree by the end of next year. Wiring branches on a bonsai serves many purposes. It's used to place branches in ideal locations and shape them, yes, but it's also a tool to optimize conditions for future growth. It's entirely possible that each of the branches that are being wired today will be trimmed off next year if and when new buds appear in better places on the branch. It's an ongoing process when designing a bonsai and then maintaining it throughout its refinement. If the tree is healthy, new growth will always appear and new choices will need to be made throughout the time this pine is a bonsai. The art of bonsai is a practice, and the work is never finished. It is constantly changing and evolving, yet another exciting aspect of bonsai. While waxing sort of poetic on how multifaceted the bonsai practice is, let's move on to the rest of the tree and begin to work toward an apex. All of these branches are potential primary branch starting points. I'm setting them up to receive plenty of light so next spring they can start to grow secondary branches from new buds that form. Next year we can check in and assess if any of these branches can effectively take the place of one or more of the branches being wired today. That's when we can decide to further simplify the design by removing a branch or leave it more complex and work with what they all yield next year. Working up toward the top, I'm looking to create the main portion of the apex. By bending the extended trunk down to expose the smaller branches to more light, I'm creating many opportunities for new buds to form to replace these longer, thicker branches with shorter, more in proportion secondary branches that will form a rounded apex. As the next 2 growing seasons pass, many of these longer, thicker branches will have been replaced with shorter branches with tertiary, finer branches grown to fill this in. So a lot of this noisy, twisted grouping will be trimmed away when that happens, as well as more back branch development that will help fill in the space. We do have that main structure in the apex of the small bonsai on top of the larger one present, with the main branch and secondary branches in place awaiting some future back budding. Now that a lot of unneeded branches have been cleared away, there's a clear structure in place to begin refining the branches on this pine. It still has plenty of foliage left on it to help keep it healthy through winter, so more of that foliage will be plucked away to balance the branch's energy levels when it comes time to remove candles next spring. For now, this is where we stop and let winter pass. This is not the final design for this tree. I do plan to remove even more of the branches on the lower right side, but not until we see what the tree offers as choices in the next 2 years. Energy has been balanced as well, now that it's been cleaned up and the needle volume has been leveled out on each branch. When spring arrives, that balanced energy will be flowing into far better places now that some choices have been made. I'm really excited to see what this tree responds with and then react to those offerings next year. Thanks for watching. I hope you gained some helpful insights from this little video. Maybe like and subscribe and leave a comment below. And possibly check out the book or the t-shirt, or there's even a hat available now in the show more section below, because bonsai stuff is kinda cool, and so are you for helping support this channel.